Welcome to Comic Power. I am your host, Comic Killer 72. This segment today is called Wicked Wednesday. If you didn't know, Wednesday is the new release for new comics that come out every week. These are my recommendations for the best books to pick up on Wednesday. I will also name one book to be the speculation pick of the week. For my longtime viewers, I need your help on promoting this channel. Once I hit 500 subscribers, I'll start doing giveaways as a reward. And we're talking key issue comics that will make you happy like Homer with a box of donuts. First up, DC is giving us Batman number 8. Tom King's writing is fantastic on this Batman relaunch, but Riley Rossmo's art style is kind of weird. I like this Tim Sale variant a whole lot better, but nobody's going to draw Batman the way Greg Capullo used to draw him back in the New 52. Next up is Harley Quinn issue 5. It's the start of a new storyline where they give us a punk rock looking mohawk wearing Harley. Amanda Conner draws Harley very cartoony, but Bill S draws her very gritty looking, like in this variant. I can take either one. Next up is He-Man and Thundercats number 1. This is number 1 of a 6-part miniseries. If you grew up in the 80s like me, you're going to remember these as must-see TV animated cartoons. The animators had no idea this was going to catch on. The whole purpose of the cartoon was a 30-minute commercial to sell toys and make lots of money. This is a test run to see if these characters can become multi-generational the way the Transformers have. If that can be proven, then that means movies, and that means even more money. He-Man and Thundercats were separate entities, but they're doing a mashup of them together here. Will retailers underorder this the way they did with Power Rangers, forcing prices to go up? We'll see. And it is law that I must say this. Thundercats, ho! I just couldn't resist. Next up is Shade the Changing Girl number 1. This is a gender swap from Shade the Changing Man, first created in 1977 by Steve Ditko. You know him, he was the co-creator of a little character called Spider-Man. The character was redefined by Peter Milligan in the 1990s, and that version still has a cult following, sort of like Sandman. So DC is trying it out with the gender swap, and it's going to have a low print run. You never know what could happen on something like this. Next up, we have Suiciders, Kings of Hell-A, number 6 of a 6-part miniseries. In a nutshell, this is about the city of Los Angeles after the big earthquake 80 years in the future, and how the residents have to survive there in a lawless land. This series was so underrated, it's criminal. The art and the writing is tremendous. It doesn't deserve to be there, but it probably is. Check your local comic store's dollar box for issue number 1 and catch up. Next up is Midnighter and Apollo number 1. There are 2 of the few openly gay superheroes in comics right now, and DC seems to be ahead of Marvel in terms of LBGT characters. In the world of comics, there's something for everyone. Speaking of Marvel, let's see what they're up to today. And first up is Champions number 1. This is a spin-off off of the events of Civil War II, in which the new Young Avengers decided that they were going to form their own team. We have Nova, Cyclops, Miss Marvel, Miles Morales Spider-Man, Viv Vision, the new Hulk, Amadeus Cho. The print run is going to be so high it's going to make you stagger, but it's worth checking out to see what direction they're going with these characters. They could be a future Phase 5 Marvel Avengers team for real, way down the line. The character to watch is going to be Viv Vision, and her first appearance is in Division number 1 from 2015. You definitely want to pick that up. Next up is Deadpool, Back in Black number 1. This is issue 1 of a 6-part miniseries, proving that Marvel is completely shameless when it comes to exploiting Deadpool. You're going to get lots of variants, and why not? I hope they don't kill the character the way they did the Punisher in the 90s. It was just overkill. I love the character, but they're really pushing it. Next up is Cage number 1 of a 4-part miniseries. This is a cartoonish spoof of his 1970s blaxploitation era origin. I'm not a fan of this art style, but I am a fan of them spoofing the LL Cool J album from 1987, Bigger and Deffer, or Bad for short, back in the day when LL was musically relevant. The Luke Cage TV show is live now on Netflix. I would recommend that, but probably not this book. It's just a little bit too goofy. Next up is the speculation pick of the week. And that's going to be Jessica Jones number 1. That's a fantastic painted cover, by the way. Marvel surprised a lot of people by taking this D-list character and turning it into a hit TV show on Netflix, starring the very lovely Kristen Ritter, best known for her reoccurring role in Breaking Bad. You know the backstory. She's a failed superhero with PTSD and decides to become a private investigator specializing in those same superheroes she tried to be. This is Marvel, of course, so they're going to give you more variants than you could ever ask for, including this 1 in 50 variant, which is going for about $40 on eBay pre pre-sale. I really enjoyed the show. It overperformed, and people that didn't know the character really loved it too. She went from a D-list to a strong B-. Be sure to pick up Alias #1 from 2001, which is her first appearance. And pick up something from Jessica Jones #1, whatever version it is, but don't overpay for the variants. Next up is The Death of X #1 of a 4-part miniseries. This is the setup of a war that's going to happen between the Inhumans and the mutants. Marvel owns the movie rights to the Inhumans, but not the rights to the mutants. The movies make way more money than the comics, so they're going to try to downplay mutants and raise the profile of the Inhumans. So far it has not worked, but they're going to keep trying. Next up is our report on independent comics and small publishers. First up is Archie Meets the Ramones #1. Archie Comics, just like Scooby-Doo, is really good about these crossovers. And I really dig this cover. If you're under 30 and don't know about the Ramones, go ahead and Google them. They're a legendary punk rock band. There are variants like this one, but I would go ahead and stick with the regular cover. It's just fine. Next up, and surely to be the most controversial book of the month, is going to be Black #1 from Black Mass Studios. With all the things going on in the news right now, this is sure to be hot button. The premise is, this is a world where only black people have superpowers. A young black man survives being gunned down by the police, and then he learns he's part of the biggest lie in history. He must decide if it's safer to keep his secret or to tell the whole world about his truth. Next up is Zombie Tramp Halloween 2016 Special #1 from Action Lab Danger Zone. They publish these type of freaky, crazy books year round, but it's time for Halloween, so it puts a special emphasis on this type of material. Next up on the lighter side is Betty Boop #1 from Dynamite Comics. This character made her cartoon debut back in 1930 and is still around today. That is amazing. There's still a cult following for this character that made her debut 8 years before Superman. That's some history. Next up is Homies #1 from Dynamite Comics as well. When this franchise made its debut in the 1990s, some people criticized it for glamorizing Latino stereotypes or promoting gang violence. I never saw it that way. I always like Homies. Next up is Intertwine #1, also from Dynamite Comics. Is it me, or does this character look a lot like Kick-Ass? The color scheme and everything, maybe I'm overthinking it. What do you think? Sound off in the comments. Next up is Hard Case Crime, Triggerman #1 from Titan Comics. This has the look and feel of a 1930s mafia story, and a very cool cover to boot. Next up is Bloodshot Reborn #15 from Valiant Comics. This might be the best ongoing comic action series on the market right now. It's been recently announced that Ninjak is getting his own web series, and Bloodshot will be making an appearance in it. Watch my October 2nd video about it, and go find Bloodshot issue #14, which is part 1 of the Bloodshot Island storyline, so you know what's going on. No comic report is complete without submissions from Image, and here they are. First up is Moonshine #1. If it wasn't for Jessica Jones, this would be the speculation pick of the week. It's a story of a New York mobster who hears about some bootlegger in the Appalachian Mountains who's got the best moonshine in the world. So he sends his reps to cut a deal, but it's not going to be that easy. The special October surprise here is it has a special Frank Miller variant cover. That is a huge coup for a debut issue for an indie. If you see this for less than $10, don't think about it, just buy it. Next up is Eclipse #2. This is set in a world where sunlight literally kills, and a police detective must find a butcher that does not burn when he's exposed to sunlight like everybody else. Issue 1 was a low print run sellout, and it's going to a second print next week. Next up is Red One #4. This is about a Russian female spy that comes to America in the early 1970s. The writing so far has been convoluted and all over the place, but what makes you buy it is these awesome covers by Terry Dodson. Very, very sexy indeed. Next up is Romulus #1. A woman named Ashlar is raised and trained and then betrayed by the Order of Romulus. She pushes through her fear to take down the masters of evil that secretly run the world. Next up is Paper Girls #10. This is the Eisner Award winning title from Brian K. Vaughan, and it's coming to a conclusion. Think of it as War of the Worlds meets Stand By Me. I could praise this series forever. Go out there and find issue #1 and catch up to what's going on. It was a fantastic read. Next up is Spawn issue #266. Spawn #1 was Image's first release way back in 1992, and it's still going. Todd McFarlane is way too busy making toys and other stuff to actually draw the comic, so he has hired his friend Eric Larson to do it. There will be a Spawn reboot movie in the future, so be paying attention to what's going on here. Last but not least is The Walking Dead issue 159. This is part 3 of the Whisper War. It's already good, but what makes it great is the Arthur Adams variant. I wish he was the permanent artist on The Walking Dead. This looks outstanding. That's about it for today. Thank you for watching Wicked Wednesday, where I review all the new comic books for a new comic day. Be sure to follow my blog at comicpower.net. On social media, follow me at facebook.com/comicpower.net and comicpower-universe.tumblr.com. And don't forget twitter.com/comicpowersub. I also sell comics on eBay at this link. This is Comic Killer 72 for Comic Power saying bye-bye. And don't forget to share this video, click on subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and tell everyone you know about this channel to help it grow. Thank you for your support.